Hey there, my fellow lunatics, and welcome to Dakon's Madhouse. Today, I'm trying something new. A tier list. I hear people like tier lists, so please like my video. Anyway, this tier list is for item upgrades, and we are going to start with Helms. That's right. This is a series, so be sure to keep an eye out for more. I guess you're just gonna have to subscribe. See what I did there? Oh, I'm so lame. So, what are we ranking? How are we ranking? This tier list contains my opinions on which items are worth upgrading and which ones not so much. Now, I'm basing my opinions off of the stats of the items at various levels without reinforcement, and whether the item itself is just useful in general, or how its stats compare to other items of the same type. I also think it's worth mentioning that if you use the item a lot and you think it's worth upgrading, then it's worth upgrading. I'm not telling you how to play. The devs did a great job with the upgrade system to make a lot of items worthwhile at various levels. So if an item is working for your playstyle and you want to keep using it, do so. So what is each tier going to stand for? Let's start with S tier. This tier is the cream of the crop. The best items that are always worth upgrading are going to be here. A tier contains items that are usually worth leveling up to 18, either because you may use them a lot or because its level 18 bonus is just worthwhile. B tier items may not be worth leveling up to 18, but they will stay with you for a long time and be useful at many different levels. C tier items are items that are worth putting a few levels into, but really only to tide you over until you can replace it with something better. Then we've got D tier items, which really aren't worth upgrading at all, but if you put a level or two into them, it won't be the end of the world. And of course, F tier items are a complete waste of time to upgrade. Don't even bother. Alright, to get us started, we have got the Adventurer's Hat. Now, we're going to start off pretty good here by putting the Adventurer's Hat straight into A tier. This is a really good all-around hat, and the upgrades on it are definitely worthwhile. It upgrades well. Next, we have got the Assassin's Hood, and while the hood itself is a solid item, it's going into D tier here because the upgrades just are not worth it. And now we've got the Atlantean Helm. This is our very first S tier. The Atlantean Helm only needs one level to upgrade it to maximum level, and the level that you get gives some pretty solid upgrades. It's an amazing helmet. It's worth every penny. And then we have the Bronze Helm. You'd think this one would be way down here, right? But no. It's actually going in B tier. This is a solid mining helmet that you get really early in the game, and provided that you don't replace it with maybe like the Larva Helm later on, this helmet can last you for a very long time and is actually one of the best mining helms when fully upgraded. Not the best. There are a lot of really good mining helms, and there are much better mining helms, but this one's pretty good. Then we have got the Carapace Helm. Carapace Helm, if you are an explosive build, all explosive items are going to be placed in S tier. That's just the way that they are. If you are playing with explosive, Carapace Helm and any other item in this entire set of lists that provides explosive damage, it's going to be S tier. However, I don't play explosive build, and I don't really know anyone who does, so I am dropping this straight into F tier because it's just useless if you're not playing explosives. Then we have got the Caveling Hood. Now the Caveling Hood is going to go straight into C tier. It's a decent early dodge item and will be one of the first dodge items that you get. And it will last you for a little while. It's worth putting a couple of points of levels into it, but you will replace it, so don't waste too much time on it. And the cooking pot lid is up next, and this thing is going straight into D tier. It is just not impressive. The upgrades are not impressive. Nothing about this item is remotely impressive. And the same is really true for the copper helm, right into D tier. If you put a level or two into it, it's not going to be the end of the world, especially if you're having trouble with some of those early game bosses, but otherwise just don't waste your time on it. There are better things to get. And now we've got the Cosmos Visor. This one's kind of a toss-up for me, I'll be honest with you, and I'd love to get people's opinions on this in the comments. I think this one skirts the line between B tier and A tier. Now, I'm going to put it into B tier because I think for most people, this is going to be a B tier item. It's a really good mining helmet, but you get it really late in the game. The upgrades are worth it, but again, you get it late in the game and chances are you're going to have better mining gear. What puts it potentially into A tier is really when you start to get to your end game mining. Because once you get above 2300 mining, as of this recording, anything above that is a waste of time. So if you've already got an absolutely insane mining score and you can afford to sacrifice mining a little bit and replace it with damage, armor, some survivability, then the Cosmos Visor becomes much, much better because this is a really solid damage dealing mining helm. And that's what I think puts it into A tier. But if that's not the kind of mining build that you want to use, then this really is just a B tier helmet. And now we have got the diving helm, and this guy is going straight into the F tier. Its level upgrades give you an extra 2% chance to catch rare fish, and for what you'll spend to upgrade, that extra 2% just is not worth it. The farmer's hat, this one right now I'm going to place into D tier, but if in the future they make some changes to the way that harvest chance works, the farmer's hat may become much better. As of right now, once you get to 100% harvest chance, there's nothing above that. However, the devs have said that they may change that in the future. If that does change and getting above 100% harvest chance does become a thing, then this will skyrocket up probably into A tier. But for right now, it's a D tier item. You can put a couple levels into it if you're trying to get up to that 100% farm chance, but otherwise, don't waste your points. Next, we've got our first seasonal helmet. This is the Festive Hat. And this one is going straight into F tier. It's just a crap item with crap upgrades that you just won't get anything out of it. Don't waste your time. The same, unfortunately, is true of the Frankenbrute head. There's really just nothing good that comes from this, and there are much better hats to spend your money on. And now we have got the Galaxite helm. This is actually a pretty decent helm, and the upgrades on it are worthwhile. Even though you do get Galaxite a little late in the game, I'm going to go ahead and put this into B tier because this makes the item much better, and Galaxite gets a lot better when you upgrade it. So this is definitely worthwhile. And back into the seasonal stuff, we have got the Gingerbread Hood. And like its companions, it's going straight into F tier. There's better out there, and there is just no reason to use this item. The Gingerbread Man Helm, I'm also going to place into F tier, but there's a slight caveat there because if you were trying to make a build that reduces your food and water usage, then this item actually becomes a much better helmet, and I would put it closer to B or maybe A tier. But no one is going to build that build because why? That's a vanity build. That's not a serious build. So therefore, it goes into F tier. Now we have got the God-Sent King Mask. I'm going to go ahead and place this one into the C tier. The upgrades that you get from it are fine, and they're worth putting some points into. There aren't a lot of levels that you would have to spend to really upgrade this, so if you're using it and you want to put the points into it, go for it. But honestly, there are better helms out there. And now we are at the Hazmat Helm, and this one I am also going to place straight into F tier, as the benefits that are really worthwhile from the Hazmat Helm are the set bonus, and you don't need to upgrade it for that. Next, we've got the Hive Bone Helm, and this guy's going to go straight into C tier because I think that it's a useful item, especially in the early game. You'll be able to put some levels into it, you'll get some mileage out of it, but you will eventually replace it. So it's not worth leveling it to 18, but it's a good helm and it's worth putting some points into it. And the same really is true of the Hunter's Hood here, as it is an upgraded dodge helmet and is worth putting points in as you progress and get better and better dodge gear. Now we've got the Iron Helm. This is one of those items that's really surprised me, as I'm going to actually put this into B tier because the bonus to damage that it provides scales really, really well. And if you're just looking for a solid damage build that you can do from early game to late game, you couldn't do much better than grabbing that Iron Helm nice and early. And the King Slime Helm. This guy is going straight into F tier. Its points are terrible, its upgrades are terrible, and there's just no point to it. The Larva Helm is going into B tier, as it is a much better mining helmet, and frankly, depending on how you have your mining points allocated, the Larva Helm could be better than the Bronze Helm, but the Bronze Helm may actually be better than the Larva Helm in some situations, because the Bronze Helm deals in percentages, while the Larva Helm deals in raw numbers. So depending on what you've got in raw number count, the Bronze Helm could be better, but between the two of them, they're both pretty much equal, so I like to place them in the same tier. And now we have got the Magma Horn Armor. This one's a late game item, but the points and the upgrades are absolutely worth it. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this into A tier, as if you are playing with a burn build, this is a must-have item. You're going to need it, you're going to want to level it up, and it's just a solid helmet in general. The Mercenary Headband is the same thing. It is a great general item. It's like the Adventurer's Helm in many ways. You're going to get a lot of mileage out of this Mercenary Headband. If you've got this and you don't really have anything better, I would just go ahead and throw some upgrades into it. It'll last you for a long, long time. And now we have got the Mining Protective Helmet, and that's an S tier. There's no question. This is the best mining helmet in the game. The upgrades are worth every single penny that you spend on it. This is an S tier item. So next we have got the Mold Web Helmet, and I'm going to go ahead and throw this into D tier. And the main reason for this is because while it doesn't suck and it may be worth putting a couple of points of leveling into it if you're using this helmet, there are better helmets that you could get at this point in the game, especially if you're starting to put an actual build together. And this thing doesn't really fit into most build styles, so it's really just not worthwhile. All right, now we have got the Ninja Cowl, and this guy is going right into S tier. It is one of the best critical hit and critical damage items in the game, and it has got an excellent dodge boost, making it perfect for crit builds, dodge builds. It's versatile, it is useful, and it only requires one level to upgrade it. Worth every penny. The Octarine Helm is next, and I'm going to throw this guy into the B tier, as it is an excellent mining speed helm, and the upgrades to it really are pretty good. I mean, they're not the best. It's only, I think, about 3%, but for mining speed, that's actually pretty good. Omeroth's Helm. You know, this isn't a great helmet. It doesn't suck. It's one of those helms that you could use, but frankly, considering when you get it, what it provides, and what its upgrades get you, I'm going to put this guy into F tier. He's just not worth it. There's better stuff out there. The Paladin Mask, however, I'm going to put this into C tier. As with most dodge helmets, it is a good upgrade and will last you for a little while until you get the better item. The Peasant's Hat. This one I'm going to throw into F tier. It is also a dodge helm and probably the first dodge helm you'll get. However, you're going to get the Caveling Hood practically at the same time, and it's a better dodge helm. So don't waste any time upgrading the Peasant's Hat. Just get a Caveling Hood. The Plague Mask. This is a very situational item, and I don't think many people will wear this as anything other than vanity, but if you are wearing the Plague Mask and you do want to take advantage of its Phoenix abilities, essentially, then this is a C tier item. Otherwise, I would put this into D tier. It's not bad. It's not bad upgrading it a little bit. It does provide some good armor boosts, but it's just, there's better helms out there. And unless you really want its ability to save your life in an emergency if you're dying all the time, then it's really just not worth putting the points into. Now, a surprise contender that came right out of left field for me is the pot lid here, which I'm going to throw into B tier. And the main reason for this is that the Ninja Cowl and the Atlantean Helm are the only helmets that are better at both doing crit hit and crit damage in the same helmet. This guy, when upgraded, is really, really good. So I'm throwing him into A tier because it will last a long, long time until you replace it with one of these S tier items. And like all of the seasonal items, the pumpkin helm is going straight into F tier. It's just hot garbage. However, these radical rabbit ears are the only seasonal item that are not that bad, and I'm gonna put them into D tier. If you're using these, it couldn't hurt to put a level or two into them, as they do provide decent bonuses that do upgrade pretty well, especially since there aren't a lot of items that provide both dodge and movement speed at the same time. And now we've got the Ranger Hood, and the Ranger Hood is one of the better range damaged hoods in the game. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this guy into A tier, as you get this really early and you can wear it for pretty much till end game. This hood can be used in an end game build. The Scarab Visor, I'm also throwing this guy into A tier, as it is a good end game helmet. It upgrades well. It is worth spending the points, but it is a little bit more limited in its use. That's the only reason it's not going into S tier. This is a really, really strong helmet, and it's definitely worth upgrading. Now we have got the Scarlet Helm, and while the Scarlet Helm itself isn't bad, I am going to throw it into F tier, as its upgrades are a complete waste of time. Do not spend any points upgrading the Scarlet Helm. You will be disappointed. The Scholar's Hood, also a really great item, but with upgrades that just don't matter. This also goes into F tier as a result. The Sentry Helm, I'm going to put this guy into D tier, but it really does belong into F tier as well. If you are going for a boss damage reduction build, then you'll want to upgrade this. But when you fully upgrade it, you're only going to get a 1% boost to your damage reduction. That is atrocious considering how much you're spending to upgrade this thing. So it is not worth spending any points upgrading it at all. But again, if you are doing that one specific build, that is the only reason to put any points into it, and that's the only thing that keeps it out of F tier. And now we've got the Shaman's Skull. I'm going to throw this one into B tier. The reason I'm throwing this into B tier is if you are a burning build, this is going to be the helmet that you wear until you replace it with the Magma Helm. So you're going to get this guy early in game, and you're going to be wearing it all the way through as your burn build progresses. So you're going to pump a lot of levels into this. The Shroomman Cap, this is just going straight into F tier. There's no reason to upgrade this. It's a vanity hat as far as I'm concerned. And the Skirmisher Cap, the only thing keeping this out of F tier and putting it into D tier is the fact that it is a decent helmet in the early levels, and the armor and HP bonuses do go up pretty good those early levels. So it's worth putting a point or two into it if it's the helm that you're wearing. But otherwise, it's just not a great helm, and it just doesn't upgrade well. The Slime Helm, this one is going into C tier. You get this guy pretty mid-game range, and it's a solid helm. The upgrades upgrade well, and it will last you until you replace it with something better for a specific build. So it's worth putting points into this one. The Snowman Hat, well, like its other seasonal compatriots, is completely useless. It's going straight into F tier. And interestingly enough, the Solarite Barbute is also going into F tier. Now, the Solarite Barbute isn't a bad helmet, and if you want to wear it, wear it. But even though you only have to upgrade it once, it's not a great upgrade. And it's really just not worth the points that you have to spend. So skip it and get a better helmet. The Spooky Blanket Hood, this one is going into F tier. but I will say that it is one of the better movement speed helms. So if you are going for a build that is pure movement speed with no other bonuses, then you will want to look at the Spooky Blanket helm for its upgrades. But if you're not, which is going to be 99% of you out there, there is no reason to even glance at this thing. The sunglasses, I'm going to throw these guys into C tier. There was a time when this was the best dodge helm in the game, but it has been surpassed, and that's the main reason why it's only in C tier. You will wear it for a long time, though, if you manage to get your hands on it, as it is a solid dodge helm. Now we have got the Wild Warden mask, and I'm going to throw this one into A tier. It is a good helmet with really good upgrades that progress well as you level the item up, so it is worth spending the money on. Since it is pet focused, that's the thing keeping it out of S tier. Although everyone uses pets, if you're not doing a pet focused build, there are very few Wild Warden items that are worth doing by themselves. So you're going to want some of the set bonuses, and that's pretty much what keeps it in A tier. And we're going to end things tonight on a bit of a downer. We're going to end with the Wood Helm going into F tier, as it's just not worth it. If you're going to spend any copper, you're going to spend it making a copper helm, not upgrading a wooden helm. So don't bother upgrading it. If you're going to use the wooden helm, just use it until you replace it with copper. And I think that just about wraps it up for today's video. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and until next time, stay crazy.